2, 4, 6, 8. What do we appreciate? Teacher K French on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe. Temperatures, freezing point. Super cold at 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 degrees Celsius. Super warm, boiling, that macaroni and cheese, to get it to perfection. It's 212 degrees Fahrenheit, 100 degrees Celsius. And then, whew, I feel like I have a fever. Oh, no. Better take my temperature. All right, body temperature, 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, 37 degrees Celsius. All right, if we go from Celsius to Fahrenheit, we're going to write Fahrenheit equals 9/5 C plus 32. If we're going to go from Fahrenheit to Celsius, we're going to write Celsius equals 5/9 multiplied by Fahrenheit minus 32. And we'll do the parentheses first. I left you off with 122 degrees Fahrenheit. So we need to use this formula right here. Celsius equals 5/9 Fahrenheit minus 32. And what do we do first? Then we write the formula. What do we do next? We plug in the values. So we have a value of Fahrenheit, 122 minus 32. Now I can solve it. And when I solve it, I start with parentheses first. 122 minus 32. 2 minus 2 is 0. 12 minus 3. That would be 9. So now we have 5/9 times 90. We're going to use cancellation. 9 goes into 9 once. 9 goes into 90 10 times, right? 10 times 9 is 90. So now we have 5 times 10 gives me 50 degrees Celsius. Did you get that? Awesome. Now, don't let this scare you. We're going to move over to what's called a decimal. Yes, have you seen decimals, those little dots? Sometimes those little dots, we actually call them points. The decimal point is called a point. So let's talk about decimals. We've talked about fractions, and decimals is simply just another way of writing a fraction. So if we can handle fractions, we can handle decimals. So a decimal is just another way of writing a fraction. Then you have a mixed decimal that contains a whole number and a decimal. Remember, like a mixed number, what does a mixed number contain? A whole number and a fraction. So instead of saying a mixed number, we say a mixed decimal. And I dropped my eraser. All right, so there we go. Boop, they're back. All right, so we have mixed decimals, whole numbers, and the decimal. And then again, the decimal is called a point. Now, do you remember lesson 1 talking about place value and how every number has an important place? We've talked about whole numbers. Look at here, this nice fancy little chart here. Place value. And we have done all of the whole numbers. We have done ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, millions, 10 millions, 100 millions, and billions. Now, we are going to the decimal side. All right, so see, we have a decimal, a point, and then we have the tenths, the hundredths, the thousandths. We would have the 10,000s, the 100,000s, the millions, on the 1 millionths. These are THs. These are really small. Do you remember doing deci, centi, milli, 1 1/10, 1 100th, 1 1,000ths? So see how the puzzle pieces are coming together and connecting to see a whole picture? So we now have decimals. We now have the tenths place. That is THS, TENTHS. They're tiny. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths. These are the 3 main places of the decimals or the fractions that we'll be using. We could go out a little farther eventually, but the main thing to know is the tenths place, the hundredths place, and the thousandths place. So anything, let's put it up here, anything to the right of the decimal is a fraction. Anything to the left is our whole numbers. And again, we've done our place value, but let's do it again. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. We'd have the 10,000s, 100,000s, millions, 10 millions, 100 millions, and billions. But now we have this decimal, and we are going to the right of the decimal. So we have tenths, T-E-N-T-H-S, hundredths, and thousandths. All right, so let's look at some decimals that are just another way of writing a fraction. If I had the fraction of 8 tenths, that would be 0.8. One place past the decimal. If I had 8 100ths, I would need to put a decimal and a 0 in the tenths place and put my 8 in the hundredths place. If I have 8 1,000ths, I put a space holder in the tenths, space holder in the hundredths, and I put my 8 in the thousandths. Again, a decimal is just this another way of writing a fraction. When we were doing deci, remember deci equals 1/10, that would be 0.1. We said centi was 1/100th, that is 0.01. And our prefix milli, which was 1/1000th, will be 0.001. Again, it's important to remember our metric prefixes. Remember the fraction of them and the decimal. Again, the decimal is the same as writing a fraction. It's just in decimal form. So I want to take 11 100ths and I want to put that into a decimal. So I start with a decimal. A hundredths is 2 place past, so I have 1, 1. 11 100ths. These are equal. These are equivalent. This is the fraction. This is the decimal. They are equal in value. All right. If I have 5 1,000ths, I'd have 0.005. 3 places past, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. If I have 7 tenths, I have 0.7. All right, so I'm going to write a few more up here. Only one place, seventh or tenths, point. My decimal, remember the decimal is called point. And then the tenths, 100ths, 1,000ths. All right, say if I have 0.1, now I'm giving you a decimal. Let's write it in fraction. Well, my decimal point, then I count my place value. I have the tenths place, so my denominator is 10, and I have 1/10. If I have 0.25, I have tenths, hundredths, so I'm over 100, and I have 25. If I have 0.754, tenths, hundredths, thousandths, and 754. So again, a decimal is just another way of writing a fraction. A decimal, fraction, fraction, decimal. You can go either way. You should be able to learn to do the fraction to the decimal and the decimal to the fraction. All right, say I have 68 100ths. Say I have 89 1,000ths, and I have 756 1,000ths. And let's come up here and write, say 5 tenths. All right, let's start with 5 tenths. Decimal, 5. My decimal, and then I have the tenths place, and that's what I need, 5 tenths. All right, I have 68 100ths, so I'm going to go out 2 places. All right, and then that would be 68. It goes out 2 places. A thousandths is the decimal, 1, 2, 3 places, right? Tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So I don't have any tenths, but then I need to put 89. Here I have 756 1,000ths. Again, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So then I can write my decimal 756. 6. All right, so this is just the introduction to decimals. We'll learn to compare decimals. We'll learn to add and subtract decimals. But don't let that scare you, because you know what? You've been adding and subtracting money. What's in money? You've got it, a decimal, because the change is in the hundredths place. So if I had $8.96, looky there. There is a decimal, right? And then 96 hundredths would be 96 100ths. How many pennies equal $1? That's right, 100 pennies. And if I had 96 cents, then I'd have 96 out of the 100, and that is the same as 0.96. Now do you see, again, more pieces go together for the big, larger picture. Again, keep math in order, keep math focused, and do it in a process. Again, math is a focused process. All right. I gave you enough for today to chew on. Think about it. Again, remember these place values. Let's go over them really quick again. They've got to be ready to go. Anything to the left of the decimal, we have ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, millions, 10 millions, 100 millions, and then the billions. And then to the right of the decimal, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. All right. Have a great day.